Chapter 12, Sing Down the Moon, page 62. I rode hard toward home. The stone cliffs were dark, but far above them the early light lay on their crests, and the trees that grew there shone as if they were on fire. A dawn wind blew, smelling of earth and wood, smoke, and corn ripe in the fields. It was a Navajo wind. Joyously I breathed it in. White Deer was tending her flock by the river. She must have believed me dead long ago. For a moment I thought she would flee. I spoke to her and rode on, and only then did she run after me, asking many questions all at once. It was the same with my mother and father and sister. They came running out of the hogan and stood there gazing at me as though I were a spirit. Not until I spoke and told them that Tallboy was wounded did they move or say anything. Bitter Water, the medicine man, was in the next village. My father and 4 other men went out to meet Tallboy and bring him in. When they came back carrying him on a litter, the medicine man had come with his bag of curing things: 2 round blue stones, a small object with an oval knot in it that looked like an eye, 1 eagle feather, and a groaning stick, a piece of wood from a lightning-struck tree. Tallboy was laid in the grass under a big sycamore close behind the river. He was pale and gaunt-faced and kept his eyes closed even when I spoke to him. The medicine man leaned the wide wound in his shoulder with river water, and the juice of mottled berries. Then he touched him all over from head to foot gently with the blue stones, and at last with a little object that looked like an eye. That night Tallboy ate something, and the next day his father came and moved him to their hogan not far up the river. My sister helped me cook food that I thought he would like, and we took it to him. We went every day, and after a week he began to sit up. The color came back to his face, but he could not use his right arm. It hung limp at his side. My sister said that he would never use that arm again. She said this to me as we were riding home. She said nothing more, but I knew what she meant. She wanted me to understand that he would never be able to hunt again, nor go out on raids with the other warriors. The next morning, my mother said, "You have 30 sheep, and they all need shearing. But before they are shorn, there are beans and squash to plant." "I will start tomorrow," I said. "This morning I want to cook deer meat. Tallboy likes it better than anything else." My mother was combing her hair. She stopped and looked at me. "There are many women who can cook deer meat for Tallboy. The moon is right for planting." "The moon will be right tomorrow," I said. My mother went on combing her hair. "Your sister has told me that he has an arm that will never again pull a bowstring or throw a lance. That is bad fortune. He will no longer be a warrior nor a hunter. He will have to sit with the women. Perhaps he will learn to weave and cut wood and shear sheep." My friend Running Bird said, "I feel sorry for him." Nehana, who was going to marry the son of a chief of a village far up the river, said the same. My mother tied her hair and stood up, pointing to the bag of squash seeds hanging by the door. "Plant the seeds deep," she said, "for the earth is very dry." Walking along in the hot sun with the bag heavy on my shoulder, I made deep holes with a stick and dropped the seeds in, 3 seeds in each hole. But my thoughts were not there in the field. Even when I tried thinking of my sheep, I was unhappy. I did not care, not for myself, whether Tallboy would ever be able to hunt again or ride with the warriors. But my sister and my mother did care, and there was nothing they would not do to keep me from marrying a cripple. It was my father who would decide, and he had nothing. Yet this did not give me any comfort, for he usually did what they wanted him to do. When the squash and beans were planted, I helped with the shearing and drove my flock to pastures by the river. The grass was not so good as it was on the mesa, but we were afraid to go too far from the village. Every week, my mother and I went to visit Tallboy and his family. She never again said anything about his arm, and when he had trouble, when it was awkward for him to do something, she always looked away in pity. By the time the hot days came, we did not go to see Tallboy anymore. Once in a while, he rode down to see us, but he did not stay long or have much to say. Then other boys began to visit. They came and sat under the trees in front of our hogan and joked with each other and played stick games. One night my mother said, "It is time for the girl to become a woman. Tomorrow I will send word of the womanhood ceremony. So that just kind of means she's growing up. I'm going to go ahead and read chapter 13 in a minute here. So we left off on page 66.